Hi, this is Chris from Growquest, and I'm in my trial rose garden, so to speak, in the northern frigid zone away from the coast. And these are all my castaways from 2 years ago that have since really grown out very well. They've not been pruned back yet because we're not done with our coldest weather in this area, and you don't do your pruning till you're about to go into your warming trend. But I did add this really nice mulch layer this early fall. I put about 4 inches of county compost in here. This will lock in the moisture in the soil. This will also be a great environment for starting out my bare root roses. And that's what I'm here to talk to you about today, is the receiving and the planting of your bare root rose order this year. So I've picked out a bald spot, and it's not the one on my forehead. Thank you for those on the internet who mention that all the time. It's right here in the planter bed. One thing you'll see differently about the way I send out my products is I send them out in a wooden box. Bare root plants have moisture. They should have moisture. That moisture gets into the cardboard packaging, or if even the humidity and the moisture of the shipping system gets in there, squat, plat, broken bare root rose bush. It would take a lot to get this rose bush broken. Your rose bush box can be opened from the top or bottom. There's screws on both ends, and get used to it because that's this year's political election. You're screwed on both ends. So you take an electric screwdriver, or by hand if you want. First got to get the right direction, and you've got your rose order. It'll be packed in 1 or 2 heavy-duty black bags. Please check the wooden tag on your order to make sure that this tag matches up with your order. If not, don't even bother opening it and send me a polite email, and we'll figure it out from there. So you get your order. Inside will be your rose bush. In this case, a #1 star grown Dolly Parton rose bush. Don't mind this new growth. It'll quickly harden off and become your new branches. If it's really bothering you, simply prune it off, and that'll be that. The best thing to do is to take your rose before planting it and to soak it in water. I have these 2 roses already soaking in here. I have an itty bitty pink, really beautiful shrub rose this year, and I have a Chicago peace that have been soaking. So the first step is to dig a nice hole. Of course, the soil is rock hard, but there's no staging of this. This is just like it could be at your place. Hopefully your soil is a little bit easier, but so you get through the first little bit of the hard surface, and it's soft from there down. You don't need an enormous crater. It's actually better to go a little wider than deeper. And one thing I'm really going to strongly suggest is you call your local coffee shop In the case of 99% of us, it's a Starbucks nearly outside the front door. I found that I call them in the morning. They'll save the daily grinds for me. Usually go by and pick them up about 6 or 7 o'clock. Double call sometimes, especially if they're not familiar with it. Because the other day I called, and of course they dumped them out prematurely, so this time they've been written in. Roses aren't always arriving perfect. Don't mind your roots. Just pull them down, backfill it, the basics, and then you can take your Starbucks grinds, instead of going and buying a $5 bag or $9 bag of compost, put your grinds in there. Worms will thrive in there. Worms will reduce those down to nutrients. They'll make this so that it's a very aerable soil, not so keep it from getting rock hard. They'll keep moisture in there when it's really hot out. Mix your grinds with your soil. At this time, really stay away from putting any fertilizers in there. When you go to buy a rose at a retail nursery, they're going to emphasize that you buy fertilizers. They're doing that because they obviously want to create as much of a sale as possible when you're there. What's in their interest for a per customer sale is not in your gardening interest. Really, at this time, the only thing you need for this rose to grow properly is water, a little warmth, and some compost, which you're going to get free at your coffee shop. And you can also go to many of the county dumps that have mountains of free compost. Or if you need to, buy a bag. But you really don't need to. You can save that money for more plants or for maybe an appetizer in the evening. So you mix in your coffee grinds, your soil, make a little backfill mix. Now, one of the most important things to do is to keep your rose from drying out. This is the graft or the rootstock down here. This is your Dr. Huey rootstock. This is the Dolly Parton budwood that was grafted on here. That'll give you the flowers. This has been determined for the most part to be the best root system until some recent innovations have taken place. This needs to be protected from here to here to keep it from drying out. The best way to protect this is that once you've planted it, take this compost and bury it up into here. This will keep the sun from burning that tissue. And if you keep it moist, it'll help create a warm, moist environment for it to bud out. As soon as you start seeing your buds coming out from here, then just pull it back. And horse manure is awesome. Goat manure is awesome. Chicken, not so good because it's too hot, needs to be composted. Definitely don't buy anything that's cow manure or steer manure. It's too salty. You couldn't even believe what cows look like, or cows and steers look like over at the places where they scoop this stuff up from. Better not to use anything at all than just use plain dirt and water. And that water is the next important thing. Make sure if you don't have a hose nearby, that you just take the bucket you've been soaking your plant in. All those shavings are just fine because they're going to go to keeping this plant moist. Granted, it's no item of beauty at the moment, but it will bud out very well. There's also tags that I send along with the grower supply. We've got our Chicago piece. Simply, when you're done planting, take it, double loop it onto the plant, as a reminder what you have there. And that's the basics of planting a bare root rose. It's no more complicated than that. Call your coffee shop for grinds for a few days ahead of time. Pre-soak them for a day or so if possible. Then plant them into the ground. And then use your compost to protect the graft and the bud area so that it'll flower out quickly. Thank you.